Let's build an Oathbreaker deck from an Arena starter kit. Hey everyone, it's VM Campos, Magic fan, Oathbreaker fan. I've got another deck tech for you to build a cool and fun Oathbreaker deck. We're gonna go with Ob Nixilis the Hate Twisted and Ob Nixilis' Cruelty. And we're gonna build this deck the quick and easy way from an Arena starter kit. That's right, we're taking a pre-made 60-card deck and turning it into Oathbreaker. Let's see how. So quick reminder, an Oathbreaker deck is helmed by a Planeswalker as the commander. It is only 60 cards instead of 100. Each one is singleton except for basic lands. And then you've got a signature spell also in the command zone that you can play, that you can only play once your commander Planeswalker is out. And here I'm going for the flavor of Ob Nixilis' Cruelty. So it exiles a creature that would dare to attack Nixie himself. All the while, as the opponent draws cards, they lose life, bringing you closer to victory. And of course we can destroy a pesky creature if we need to, and damage the opponent. Lastly, we start with 20 life instead of 40, so this is more of a fast-paced format, so consider that when building your Oathbreaker decks. It's a faster format. You don't have a lot of a chance to really set up a huge board state. It's more like hit the ground running with a Planeswalker. We're further going to hit the ground running with a pre-constructed deck as our starting point. So the Arena starter kits came out a few years ago. You can still find them for a few bucks. And I want that mono black deck right there. It was originally helmed by Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, but we're going to use it as our starting point because it's full of lands, cool spells, and synergy. And we're going to see how we can use this deck as a starting point for an Ob Nixilis Oathbreaker deck. I'm going to open up the starter kit, dissect the deck, and then show you how to build upon it. Thusly. The Arena Starter Kit has a variety of items to help you get started with Magic Arena, Player's Guide and the like, a couple deck boxes, but what I care most about are the decks. So we're going to focus on the mono black deck as the starting point for our Oathbreaker deck. For the moment, I'm just going to lay out all the cards and then figure out how I can change it to an Oathbreaker deck. Okay, first of all, there were a lot of duplicates in this deck, which means that we will have to add a lot of original cards to bring it up to spec of 60 cards, which means it's a good challenge. We got 26 lands, which is way too many. You need 24, maybe 25. One thing is, don't go below 24, even with a mono-colored deck. People always make that mistake about, well, everything costs the same mana, so I'll just put less mana. See, that doesn't make sense. Why would you put less mana? Less mana means you have less resources to cast your cool spells, so don't go below 24. And on this one, I'm going to reduce it by 2 mana to go down to 24. I'm going to cut out all of the cards that have duplicates. Some are 2, there's a couple that are 4, so I'm going to cut all of these down to 1 first before I go on. Alright, so let's look at the cards that we kept in the deck. We've got a variety of creatures. Skeleton Archer pings when it comes into the battlefield. Lost Legion scries when it enters the battlefield. Just a big old 1/5 pangolin, cute. We've got a flyer that gets Death Touch. We get a scorpion that when it dies, everyone loses life, you gain life. We've got the Gourmand that makes everyone sacrifice creatures. You have to sacrifice your own, but it's got trample and flying. This Glutton's got lifelink. Just a plain old 2/2 for 2. Here's an interesting card that brings stuff back from the graveyard eventually. An incredibly scary 7/7 flyer. Give your creature indestructible. Remove any problem. Deal with creatures. Turn your creature into a demon and make it really big and recast this from the graveyard. Now the deck originally focused on Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose, Wherever you gain life, the opponent loses life. So there's a few of that synergy in the deck already, that when you gain life, they lose life. Plus you can give all your creatures lifelink for some nice damage. Keeping that in the deck, of course. And the deck came with an Peer into the Abyss card, which is amazing. Target player draws a card equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life, round up each time. So this is a win condition for the deck, because if you've got Ob Nixilis out, you play Peer into the Abyss, that kills an opponent. Amazing. But to also guarantee this works very well, let's talk about some of the cards that we're adding to the deck. Of course we need the Underworld Dreams, good old card. Whenever an opponent draws a card, this deals 1 damage to that player. So imagine having the Dreams out and then playing the Peer, there's a dead opponent. Now of course then when you've got Ob Nixilis out, they're super dead. So we're adding that one to the deck. We're also adding some protection in case the opponent attacks you, they get damaged, you gain life. And if you've got Veto out, that is devastating. We'll add a couple bit more removal. Foul Play, destroy a small creature, investigate. Grim Bounty, destroy any creature or planeswalker, create a token. Next I'll show you the most vicious part of this new deck. This is the part that makes the opponent discard cards. So here's a turn 1 that will make your opponents hate you, but Ob Nixilis grows when you hate them. Pay 1 black mana, sorcery. This deals 1 damage to each opponent. Each opponent must discard a card, then they mill 1, then you gain 1 life. So vicious. For 1 mana, this is a common, this is amazing. Elderfang Disciple, 2 mana, you get a 1/1. When it enters, all your opponents must discard a card. Now, spoiler alert, I've got a couple of these in the deck that are exactly the same. 2 mana creature, make everyone discard. 2 mana creature, make everyone discard. This one also gets pumped up. This one, when it dies, everyone discard. So we've got this beautiful package of discard creatures. And we've got an Arterial Flow, 3 mana, each opponent discards 2 cards. If you control a vampire, they lose 2 life, you gain 2 life. If you've got Veto out, it's even more vicious. And lastly, this beautiful Cavern Whisperer. If you mutate it onto one of your non-humans, each opponent discards a card. So there's a strong discard all the stuff component to this deck that I've added to it. I have 1 example of this card, but you can add more. Target player draws 2 cards, loses 2 life. Hey, wait a minute, if you've got Ob Nixilis out and when an opponent draws a card they lose life, this is making them lose 4 life, although they do gain 2 cards. You have to be careful about these types of cards, so you can put more of these. Target player draws cards, they lose life. There's plenty of them, but I've only got 1 in the deck. You can decide to put more if you want. And speaking of life and the like, Marauding Blight Priest. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses life. So we've got a few of those cards that synergize, slowly weaken everyone. How about protect yourself with some Death Touch creatures? We've already got a few in the deck, but we can add a couple more. Why not? This one can come in with Lifelink or Death Touch, your choice. When this one dies, everyone loses life. And then the final card of the build is this really interesting one. Well, it's kind of scary on the front, but it's either a land, or each opponent loses 4 life and you gain 4 life. That can really end the game. And that was my build of the Ob Nixilis, the Hate-Twisted Oathbreaker deck based on the Magic Arena starter kit. We added a bunch of new cards that synergize with each other. Drawing cards, discarding cards, gaining life. It's amazing. It's Oathbreaker. It's fun. If you like this video, tell me in the comments. How would you improve it? There's many more ways to improve this deck. Tell me about it in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, battle the Minotaur, do all that good stuff. If you really like the video, go to my Patreon and contribute to the Patreon to help out, to be a part of the channel, to keep it going, to keep it funded. I would really appreciate it. This has been VM Campos, and I'll see you in the next video.